Okay, in this Excel video, I'm going to show you how to change background color, make your cells larger. We're going to talk about formatting the cells in dollar signs and percentages. We're going to make a chart and talk about how to do other equations that exist other than the sum feature. Okay, so remember to change the background. If you want to highlight and merge over more than one cell, you highlight the range and touch merge and center. Mine is already merged and centered. That's when I'm going to go up to the paint bucket and I'm going to pick whatever color that I would like. This is where I change the font color, and this is where I could make it bold, and I know you already know that part. If I want to border it, remember I can do a thick box border, which would border my title then. If I don't want a border, I would go no border. Okay, and all this information is typed in for me, and I would like, since this says sales, we're talking dollars. So we're going to highlight the range that we would like to make currency or dollar formatted, and up here you can see the dollar sign. You can click the down arrow. There's other currency that you could pick. Of course, we're just going to always touch the dollar sign. Remember, by default, it's 2 decimal places. If you don't like decimals, this is the decreased decimal, but we would like 2 decimal places since we're talking about money, always rounded to the nearest hundredth. So if you do a comma, remember a comma is going to give you no dollar signs, but it's still going to give you 2 decimal places. So you can kind of fluctuate between the two depending on what you want. These are percentages of sales. So these numbers are currently in decimal form. We want them to be percentages. You simply touch. If you want them rounded to the nearest tenth or hundredth, then you would increase the decimal accordingly. If you want to auto sum, remember, auto sum is over here. But I wanted to show you that if you touch equals, up here in this top left-hand corner, there are other choices. Okay, and in a minute we're going to get to average. But for right now, if you touch sum, it comes up with, do you want a total? Are these the range you want to sum? And of course it is, so I'm going to press return. Okay, this is a shortcut to do auto summing. But where all the functions come from are on this menu when you press the equal sign. So we want the average sales of last month. So this is where we want the answer, and I'm going to average just this range right here. I don't want the total included, just this range. So I'm going to start with equals. Of course I can go pick it from this over here now, but I want you to practice coming up here, oops, that went away, to picking it from this. And it's going to say, what range do you want? Well, I don't want this included. So I can start over and select, or I can just come over here and, okay, we'll just reselect then. We'll reselect just this range. So B3 to B9, right? I'm going to press return. And then I have the answer. Okay, I had changed my font size to 14, and this isn't font size 14 yet, so of course I could adjust it. That's why it looks so little. Okay, there's my average, and if I look up here, this is my equation bar, right? If I do Control tilde, then it shows all the equations I've done so far, remember. Okay, to make a chart, we want to know first we have to know what we want to chart, and I want all of the items that I was going to buy, so from pencils down to highlighters. And then I also want to know the sales from last month. Because these two cells are located, or these columns are located next to each other, I'm just going to take remember this is my selection. This is how my cursor should look when I'm selecting. I'm going to start in A3, go to B3, and down to B9. So A3 over and down to B9. And I'm going to touch Insert. And you're going to come up, what kind of chart do I want? Here are all your charts. And I want, in this particular case, a column chart. And I'm just going to pick the clustered column. And it brings this down here for me. I can move it anywhere with the 4-way arrow. I can size it, smaller, bigger, and then I can change the bars. These bars represent something different. This is pencils, this is paper, so I want a different color for each bar. So I have to click one time on pencils, and then I'm going to come up to this Format tab up here at the top, and I'm going to pick my shape fill. And then I'm going to keep clicking. If I double click pencils, this is going to come up instead, and I can use the paint bucket over here. All right, and here's the fill. So I can fill up here, or I can fill over here. Many more options come up if you start messing around with this menu over here. But for right now, if you like to do shape fill this way, you can fill each of your bars. This is where you would replace the title. You just double click and type your title. Of course, you can also change the font size. You can change the color. You can do all of that. All right? I guess you got to be on the outside of it to make it happen to the whole thing. All right? This is the most basic chart that you can create. For right now, I think that should be okay. If you want to select a non-adjacent range, so I want pencils to highlighters, but I want to chart this over here instead of this. So I select my information in column A, and then I'm going to find Command, which is next to the keyboard, and I hold it down, and then I'm going to select this range, and I'm going to let go. What chart do I want? Well, let's see. I'm going to have a line chart. I'm going to pick a line with markers. And now you can see my percentage of total sales last month. My pencils, up to paper, down to highlighters. If I click, I can change the color of the whole entire thing as it's fluctuating from point to point. I can also click off of it, and notice you could change the dots as well. All right. If I want this chart on its own page, I have to have my four-way arrow in the top right-hand corner. I'm going to hold down Control and right-click, and I'm going to go to Move Chart. I'm going to click New Sheet, and I'm going to click OK. And then I have a chart on its own sheet, and if I look down here, if I click Sheet 1, here's my information. There's nothing in Sheet 2 or 3, so I could Control right-click, and I could delete those. Delete, and then I also could Control right click and go to Tab Color, and I could start clicking on these, and I could change, Control right click, the color of each of my tabs down at the bottom. I like yellow, so I'm going to pick yellow, and then if you click, you can tell which one that you're on because the color comes down to the bottom. I also can pick them up and move them around, so if I touch this, I can move this, and I want Sheet 1 to appear first, Chart 1 to appear second. If I want to rename products, I couldn't think of what I wanted to call it. And then this is my, two times, line chart. All right, good luck with Excel.